Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at a roadmap devlog. This is following the roadmap stuff that they said would be out in summer 2024. Now, since we're already on the 20th of August, I'll be incredibly surprised if this ends up kind of not running into the next update as well. There's still a bunch of the roadmap stuff that they've talked about that still hasn't kind of come around from the summer area, so we'll have to see what ends up happening. But this one has come in today. They literally talked about it, and it's now just straight implemented. You can see the server update right here that they've decided to do. It's on the 20th, and yeah, it's straight up just in. They just chucked it in. So yeah, no voting, no craziness on this, just straight up going in. So what are they doing? Safe exit zones for aircraft in ground arcade battles. Now, this one's an interesting one, because, so if you don't know, if you don't play ground arcade, the way that the kind of spawn system for planes works is you gain points, whether through your team winning or doing useful actions, such as like capturing zones or destroying other players, and then when you get like 1 point, you can get in a fighter. If you get 2, you can get an attacker. If you get 3, you can get in a bomber. And then if you get more than that overall, like a lot of points, you can actually get yourself a nuke eventually. So one of the issues with this is as you spawn into this plane, number one, you don't get control of what that plane is, and also number two, or it can be helicopter as well at certain BRs, number two is also you're on a timer, and this leads a lot of players to basically just kind of go in, hammer down, and then smash things, and then also smash themselves into the ground. And this is something that they're trying to alleviate, and they're trying to stop people doing, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, basically before they talk about how it was all set up and how people kind of use the system, and the new way that they're going to do it actually sounds pretty interesting, but in my opinion it does have some slight drawbacks, and also be interesting to see if people actually use it instead of the opposite where they just continue to do the same thing. Because basically what would happen, right, is you would fly to the combat area, and then you would either drop your bombs or rockets or use your guns to destroy the aircraft and then the ground vehicles, and then you just smash yourself into the ground. And what this would end up doing is this would mean that the last person to hit you, even if it was just like a ground vehicle, will get a kill. And that would obviously be very positive for that person. But also at the same time, there is actually nothing, there's nothing tying you to that aircraft at that point. So destroying yourself as quickly as possible is actually the most efficient way to do it. You don't have to pay repair costs, you don't have to, get research in it or whatever. So it actually makes sense for you to end yourself as quick as possible, which is an interesting way of putting it. So for me, when I look at a new feature like this, and I look at how they're doing it, it's obviously that it's trying to address that issue, because they don't want people just nuking themselves, and also at the same time, basically giving people free kills. And for me, I don't mind about the free kill part. I think that's pretty good, especially if you're in SPAAs in arcade, and also missile AAs, because it's just a mess right now. Very hard to use those things. But it's something that they're obviously trying to fix. So when we have a look at the new setup, it's very similar to how the World War Mode safe exit used to work, if you remember. Basically, once your ordnance is done, so if you're in a bomber or attacker aircraft, and you've used all your rockets, you've used all your bombs, an icon will just appear on the screen, indicating a safe exit zone. And also, if you're in a fighter, if there are no more enemy aircraft up, because you can only spawn in a fighter if other aircraft are there, whether it's an attacker, whether it's a fighter on the, a bomber on the enemy team, or a fighter, I suppose. But I don't think you can spawn in a fighter if the enemy team doesn't have anything like spawned in, basically. But yeah, so if there's no other aircraft in the air for a fighter, then this icon will just appear, and you can see this icon right here. And basically, as you get to it, you can literally just exit the aircraft safely, and you'll get some rewards for it, which is quite nice. Now, the way that this safe exit thing is going to work, there isn't a specific altitude that you have to like hit it at. Instead, what it is it's just kind of a column, or which is kind of sat there, and all you've got to do is just go into it. And the moment you go into it, you'll just safely exit. And you can see here, you actually get some rewards for doing it. You get the safe and sound reward. And the only thing I don't like about this so far is this part here, the random reward, which can be kind of annoying. But you can see, depending on the BR session that you're in, you will get some SL for saving your aircraft, which is pretty cool. But then also, you'll get an additional random reward of either 1 to 3 air events points, or 1 to 3 artillery stroke points, or one of these. So you'll either get SL or stuff that will help you in the battle. The 1 to 3 artillery strike points can be super useful, unless you're in a tank destroyer, where you can't use them at all. And then also the air points. So you could like spawn in a bomber, use all your bombs, go to the safe exit, and then spawn in a bomber again. Which is just kind of funny to think about, right? Like, that's usually something that you're not able to do. You're not able to, like, you know, farm these separate things. So yeah, that will be interesting for people when that happens. And then also, they actually say how the artillery points work. So you'll have a maximum amount of artillery points. So if you already have like 2 out of 3, because technically you can't hold more than 3 artillery points in ground arcade, which means that you can use artillery 3 times at the same time, then it will just go to the maximum of the artillery points. So you can't go over it. It would be kind of funny to get like 6 artillery points, but yeah, it would be a bit crazy. However, if it's possible to take a nuke carrying aircraft in the battle, the counter will continue to grow, and in the described case, you'll have 4 points for the bomber event. So that's how that will work, because I think you need, it's either 15 or 25 points, or maybe 20 points for a nuke in arcade, which obviously translates to like 15 or 20 kills, plus like more positive actions. So yeah, that is kind of crazy if that's what you're going for. You could literally spawn in like an attacker, get 3 air points, and also the kills on the ground that you do, and that will push you very hard towards the nuke, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you can see here, you get the guaranteed SL, which is this, and then you also get the random reward on top of it. At least that's how this is going. So if you get safe and sound, you'll either get artillery strikes, or you'll get more points to spawn in planes. So that's, you know, basically how it's going. The other thing that's actually really cool here is they do talk about the fact that they'll be announcing the testing and the research bonuses for new nations. They've been testing it with specific accounts already, but my guess is this is talking about a overall test for everybody, which is just awesome. You know, that's something that, you know, we've been looking forward to for a long time in terms of the game, over a year now. Since the most recent ones were put in. So what are my thoughts on this? Pretty simple. It's positive, right? Like, giving people more opportunities to be able to save their aircraft, to be able to go around and play the way that they want to. This is positive. There's only a few negatives with it, and I don't know whether if people are actually going to use this system how they're supposed to. So number one is SPAAs, right? SPAAs are some of those vehicles in arcade. They have to deal with the arcade flight models, which means that people can zip, zoom around the place, and it's not exactly easy to be able to deal with. A lot of the time, people will just like fly around the place and you know, you have to like track it with the AAs. And as I said before, there's a lot of missile AAs at high tier air. If you're not facing helicopters, which cannot really do anything anymore. And I'm talking about the SACLOS missiles, not specifically the IR ones. The IR ones have their own issues with actually being able to lock on things, especially helicopters. But the SACLOS missiles, they have realistic missile mechanics attached to them, but the planes have boosted flight models. So good luck trying to hit them. So one of the things that's bad for AAs here is people may not come as close to the battlefield, especially stuff like attackers and bombers, because what would happen before is people would kind of come in, try and get their bombs as accurate as possible, and then just plow into the ground. And that's how, you know, they would get it done. And that means that in general, what would happen is you would get a kill for it, even if it wasn't something that you should have got a kill for, because you technically didn't destroy the vehicle destroyed itself, you were just able to tap it. So it's going to make grinding out certain AAs a little bit harder, but also from the player point of view, while using the plane, there is now downtime. One of the great things about the way that arcade works is it's super fast. You know, the tanks are super fast. They have boosted engines. The planes are super fast and also super maneuverable. They have boosted parts too. And one of the problems with adding in something like you see here is it slows that down. So depending on how far the safe exit is away from the battle area, it might still not be worth you doing it. Because of the fact that you just want to get back into the battle quickly. And since you don't have to pay a repair cost, so you don't really have to pay anything, decently for crashing your plane into the ground, I feel like a lot of people will just do that anyway. So that is, something to kind of think about. Another thought is maybe they could do this in something like Ground Realistic, or maybe they could do it in Ground Sim, where players don't want to kind of jay out of their vehicle, or they don't want to like get back to the airfield and just like land and then jay out and get back into a tank. I understand this type of mechanic is a little bit unrealistic, but at the same time, I think it's something that should be looked at. A lot of, and also I suppose people would do like quick bombing runs, annihilate everything, and then they could just go back and then go into the other thing. But yeah, I suppose they probably just want people to go back to the airfield in Air Realistic and Air Sim. But I would at least want them to kind of like have a look into this and see, whether if it's successful in arcade and a decent chunk of people use it in arcade, I think it's one of those things that should be looked into for Realistic too, and then also other game modes, right? Like why not just kind of give it a go? If you played World War mode, by the way, this is basically the same thing. The only difference is the reason to do it in World War mode is if you had, like, let's say, a set of fighters, you wanted to keep them as alive as possible for the squad, and therefore plunging them into the ground probably wasn't the best idea. But I can't see this causing any controversy. I can't see anybody being, kind of sad about this. I mean, let me know what you think about it. I think it's fine. Like, I don't see any issues with it at all. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing, but in general, I'm pretty generally happy with it. As always, though, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.